Welcome back to Rock and Roll Rabbit Hole.
Right on.
I'm Kevin Gibson.
And I'm Butch Bays.
And we are looking forward to bringing you some more fun today.
Back to the 80s again.
Back to the 80s. Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. We grew up in the 80s, so it influenced us heavily. So what's the song this week, Butch?
This song came out in 82, 81, somewhere around in there. It's right in the perfect time, I think, for us. I don't know if anybody's ever done a scientific study to see what's the perfect time for songs to imprint on you. But this song's called Down Under from Men at Work. And boy, is it stuck in our brains.
Yeah, well, it came out in 81 in Australia, then finally came out in the U.S. in early 82.
Oh,
so,
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm glad you were
There you go.
on top of that.
I did my homework.
Yeah, good. That makes one of us.
So, since we are talking about the land down under, we have a beer of the week that I don't think Butch has ever had, and I haven't had in years and
I
years
haven't had
and
it,
years.
yeah.
Foster's
Australian
for
beer. Now,
So,
to our Australian friends,
yeah,
we know this is probably not what you're sitting there drinking.
we have some listeners down
At
there,
the
but
pub.
this is,
Yeah.
it says on the can, it's brewed in USA, founded in Australia, brewed in USA.
Yeah.
I was doing some reading, and I think it's brewed in Great Britain.
Yeah, I think it's brewed in Great Britain now, conceived in Australia, I believe.
Yes.
And originally started there. But this is what was marketed to us as Australian beer all our lives.
This and the Outback Steakhouse that were marketed to us as
Exactly.
Americans as something special and,
Exotic.
from the land of plenty and,
Yeah. But if you're having a Victoria or
There's
I
no
guess they
smell.
have a Tui's, whatever they're having down there.
there's no smell.
We're gonna
Cheers,
cheers
Butch.
you.
Good to be back. We took
Yes.
a hiatus for the holidays, and now we're back. And
To the rabbit hole
Our
and-
band played a show, so
To the land down under.
to the land down under.
The land of wonder.
That's awful.
That's pretty.
Well, it's pretty awful.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get through
Yeah.
it. It's only 40 ounces. We'll get through it.
It's only 40. Is it 40?
No, I
These
don't
40
know.
These are like, yeah. I was thinking, oh God, that's a long slog. All right, time for the tale of the tape. Down Under is a song by Australian rock band Men at Work. The song was released on Columbia Records in 1981 as the second single from their debut album, Business as Usual. The lyrics depict an Australian man traveling the globe, meeting people who are interested in his home country. The hit song went #1 in their home country of Australia in December of 81, then topped the New Zealand charts in February of 82, which I guess that's kind of interesting. That's the other land down. That's like the other white meat, isn't it?
Yeah. That's pork.
Yeah,
New Zealand is pork.
it is. Before taking the world by storm. #1 in Australia, Canada, US, Ireland, the UK, New Zealand, Switzerland. #2 in Netherlands, Norway, South Africa. Only #6 in Belgium. And France hated it. Number
France,
55.
Of course, France hated it.
Why'd they hate it so bad? What?
Pastry eating sons of.
Yeah. But we met this song, I would say, with arms and ears wide open.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Well,
wonderful.
the video was great. That was one of the things.
Absolutely great.
The video was great. I watched it today and was amused as I used to be when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Did it take you on back to those days?
It really did, yeah. It was a lot of fun. I'd forgotten some of the goofy details to that video.
But they were willing to sort of, I don't want to say make fools of themselves, but they were willing to lean into sort of like a mockish fun video, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of, when other rock stars were trying to look cool, like, say, Winger,
Winger, yeah.
Warrant, whatever. But like,
Yeah, this was no cherry pie.
no, they were just trying to be fun, and fun.
And this is what we appreciate.
Exactly. I might be a little ahead of the Winger time, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of that
So
deal.
it was
Yeah.
sort of influenced by Colin A, the lead frontman and co-writer of his own travels around the world and
Right.
meeting people from around the world. It was also somewhat based on loosely on a comedic character whose name I forgot to jot down.
Yeah, I've
but-
heard that too. Yeah,
But kind of interesting. But what I found interesting when I was researching it, which I'd never really researched a song before in my life, was that it was sort of like the Australian version of Born in the USA.
I was hoping
Isn't that
we would
interesting?
get to that because it's very, very similar.
Isn't
Now,
that
how do you
interesting?
find it similar? Yeah.
Well, just because it was taken in as like an anthem,
Yes.
nationalistic anthem. Excuse me, but Hay really was sort of kind of trying to point out the kind of the commercialization, the selling out of Australia,
The exploitation
the
of nature.
overdevelopment, and
Sure.
and just the way Bruce Springsteen was like kind of trying to point out similar things about America.
America's shortcomings.
Yeah,
So
and so
it was a very similar, like to the pink houses phenomenon, where
Yeah.
people thought pink houses was like, ain't that America, But it was kind of pointing out how, maybe you're stuck in your class that you're born in, but something about people just latch on to a good chorus that feels
yeah.
like a flag waver, even
Yeah.
though Colin Hay says it was not that. I think for us, we felt like it was not disparaging feeling to the
No, I
Australian
mean, I think
peoples.
partly as American teenagers, we saw the video and thought, oh, well, they're just having fun with this. This is just a story of some wayward traveler
Yeah,
who gets into weird situations.
very weird situation.
As non-Australians, we would never have thought about it. And as 17 or 16-year-olds, we never would have thought about that.
No.
So,
It sounded like, fun world traveling, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, goofy characters, and
yeah.
the guy was 6'4" and full of muscle, and that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, this is just visual
Yeah.
stuff to create characters. But
Some strange lady gives him breakfast for no
Yeah.
apparent reason,
takes him in and gives him breakfast.
takes him in and gives him breakfast. But it always had a little bit of foreboding to it and a big air of mystery. Did you think, like, sort of the
Yeah, definitely.
the strange lady? You better run. You better take cover. Can you hear the thunder? All that stuff. It's all feels a little like makes you feel a little bit uneasy, but which adds a little depth to it.
Yeah.
I wrote down it's a novelty song, yet it feels like a novelty song, but it has depth.
With depth, yeah. When he even said it, he called it, quote unquote, a very important song for him personally,
Sure.
because it really was something that he put a lot into and wanted meaning to be extracted from it, and it just wasn't.
Right.
You
Well, the clues were there in the video, in that at the end they're carrying a road case over
Yeah.
the sand dunes, and it's a mock funeral.
Yeah.
And he felt like that was a funeral for, like, what Australia could be, or like the classic, free roaming land that it was, and it was sort of being sold off, whatever.
Yeah.
At first I was a little skeptical that he was maybe re-engineering or retroactively engineering meaning to the song,
Right.
but I think it was there. It was there.
I agree.
You
And
know,
we
so.
now that we know what kind of a songwriter he is, I think it was definitely intentional.
He's an intelligent man.
He is.
And a thinker. He's a
Yep.
thinker. So I wrote down that I was surprised that it wasn't called Land Down Under.
Yeah,
or
me
the
too.
Land Down Under.
Me too.
Did you
When I
catch it?
Googled it, I put Land Down Under, and I was like, oh, dang.
It was like, do you mean Down Under? And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure I don't.
And I even have the single in there in the other room. I just haven't looked at it in so long.
I told Google, no, I mean Land Down Under, But anyway, so. Colin Hay immigrated from Scotland like so many Aussies. Did you catch that fact?
Mhm.
And like the AC/DC, also, Australian, Scottish immigrants. His parents owned a music store in Scotland. And then I don't know what age he was when he ended up in Australia, but I think it just was like a fascinating place to him. So different,
Yeah.
so big, and more wide open, I'm sure, than
Bigger
where he-
scorpions than Scotland has.
Well, probably quite a bit bigger.
Bigger spiders, yeah.
Those Scottish scorpions are reputed to be very
Ooh,
small.
band name.
Oh,
Scottish
good.
scorpions.
There you go. I love it. But I think one of the things that sold this song, obviously it was a hit everywhere besides France. And I think, like, Colin Hay's voice is like a trumpet, man. It cuts through.
It's so unique.
He has a lot of control of it. Did
Yeah.
you notice that? He's
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking today, I compared it a little bit to Sting, but only like he was like even a more controlled version of that.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
But just like if you think of like like say a Rod Stewart as sort of a woodwind sounding instrument, maybe Stevie Nicks, you know. Colin Hayes he's a brass, you know, just a brass instrument all the way.
Interesting, yeah, interesting.
So, what do you know about the beginnings of this song, the writing?
Well, that was Ron Stryker. He came up with a rhythm and a bass line, right? And then when he brought it to Colin, and Colin was the one who kind of took it from there. And from what I read,
again, to mention a part of the video, you know, when the drummer's like banging on the bottles,
yeah,
and then he knocks the last one off. You know, I've watched that about 50 times over the last couple days. But Ron Stryker actually played it on bottles with varying levels
bottles.
of
I was thinking glasses.
Well, yeah, one or the other.
Put different levels of water in it to make it.
That's kind of a neat instrument, really. But the song actually starts with that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's kind of like it's a good sound, but Colin Hay described it as very evocative, you know, music on the cassette tape that he heard that helped him. And he had the Land Down Under kind of phrase going through his head, and he put them together. But boy, it turned out into a.
Well, what's interesting is, did you listen to the original version of the song?
Yeah.
It's almost like got a reggae swing.
Yes.
It's much slower. And it was, what I found interesting was it was put on a 45 as the B-side to a song called Key Punch Operator.
Key Punch Operator.
Which never surfaced on a Men That Work album.
How did it not? Because this was a B-side to that.
Right. But that wound up being their biggest hit by far.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just interesting that they thought more of Key Punch Operator in the time in 1980.
Right.
And I was just thinking about it, how when you get a song to a producer and a producer says, "Oh, well, let's do this."
Yeah.
It can completely transform everything.
And it did.
It did. And the band thought, well, it's a B-side. We'll just, but they got into the studio. We have this, right?
Yeah, it became
producers like, ooh, let's do this. Let's speed it up a little. Let's get, and then bam, suddenly
it went from
it's a hit.
Yeah, it went from sort of a relaxing, chilled out, still a good sounding song, but then all of a sudden it was just pop goodness. It had that, the pace was picked up. It sort of took it out of the reggae world and almost started to step towards the ska world in my mind, the way it started to sound.
Like ska pop or whatever.
Yeah, ska.
It was very, very, very poppy. But
yeah, but I mean, it really went over. The album Business as Usual spent 15 weeks at #1, first time for a debut album ever. So we were introduced to these characters through the song "Who Can It Be Now," and that video, which was really murky and mysterious because it was obviously a guy that had some mental issues hiding in his apartment, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think that they felt like Down Under was going to be their single after they made the album, and the record company Columbia went with "Who Can It Be Now," and I think that just teed this up perfectly. It was like a well played strategy.
Well, that's true. It did sort of like, once they had a hit with that, then people were hungry for something else.
True.
And I think Down Under was a better song. Both, right. I love both of those songs.
I do love both those songs.
Funny, when the second album came out, I really liked Overkill. I've got that single. And a lot of people didn't like that. It wasn't nearly as big of a hit, but
I don't know if I liked it as much, but in retrospect, that song was a little more of a serious...
A little darker, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy... I think he said, he had a quote here. He said, let me see. I got to find this.
You can cut this out, right, when you edit it?
Yeah, anytime, especially if I stumble, He said, we caught a lot of breaks, but we had a lot to offer. And I think this guy's an excellent songwriter, musician, guitar player. Like, he's got it all. Yeah. And he's really intelligent. And it made me think that maybe the cream does rise to the top. Maybe it's not as random as we think it is in the music business, where somebody just pops up because they got a funny face and dimples.
Well, then explain Government Cheese, my friend. Look it up, kids. Look it up. The greatest band that never made it. Government Cheese.
They are the greatest band that never made it. Is that a song yet?
No, it's a book.
Oh, well, okay.
Tommy wrote that
Maybe
book.
there should be a song.
Maybe we should write that
We'll
song.
lift that title.
Anyway, so one of the things that hooked us as kids were
Yes.
all the Australian phrases that we didn't have any idea what they were talking about.
I felt like it was listening to a song in another language, but yet you sort of understood it, right?
Uh-huh.
Most of it. Most of it.
I want to go through a couple of these.
Okay, good.
So,
You're going to regret this, by the way.
okay,
in
good.
A moment.
I'm fine.
All right, good.
So, a fried out Combi.
Yes.
So the traveler is traveling in a fried out Combi, which is just a beat up old van.
Yeah, a VW bus.
Uh-huh.
I had no
I
idea.
had no idea.
I didn't care what he was saying,
Nope,
really.
I didn't care at all.
Right.
And so he was inside with a head full of zombie.
Right.
And you know what that was, Butch? Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
believe it's a drug reference. That is some
It's
kind of
a
known
A
variety.
type of very strong marijuana that was popular in Australia at the time.
Right.
So
Didn't know that.
This
We
is
had no
a
idea.
family show, but
Yes.
we have to report the facts.
We want to extrapolate, yes.
And I love the line where beer does flow and men shunder.
Yes, we like that a lot.
Shunder means to vomit.
Right. See,
Because Lord knows I've chundered many times. I chunder AF.
Yeah, we're probably going to chunder after the Fosters.
After drinking this, yeah.
Yes,
I
but
kind of want to chunder right
I'm
now.
pretty sure we are. But I wish we knew all this back then in a way. It would have enriched our experience.
Well, but it was one of our first introductions to Australian culture.
Maybe the first in a way.
Yeah, and so that's part of what made it such an interesting record. And of course, we didn't know what Vegemite was.
No.
So he goes in to buy some bread, and the 6'4" guy that's full of muscle
Yeah.
hands him he just smiles. He hears his accent.
Yeah.
He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich, and I used to think that he was saying and gave me a bite of my sandwich. Well, like that doesn't make sense because it's his sandwich.
Your mind was kind of making
Was trying to translate it. Yeah,
So Vegemite, I've never tried it,
I haven't either.
but
But
it's time
oh
that
no,
we remedy this.
oh no,
I
what
have
we
brought-
done?
I think we need more prop comedy on the show.
Oh my God.
So tonight, I have brought all the elements we need. If you will describe what you're
Speaking
seeing,
of chunder,
if you will describe what you're seeing here for
so
our
Butch has
podcast
got
friends.
some bunny bread.
Yes,
He's got some butter. Looks like
yes.
paper plates,
A kitchen knife,
kitchen knife, which I'm going to stab him with later,
and
and
this looks like toxic packaging.
fragile.
Yeah, and the Vegemite bottle. The
Oh my
smallest
God.
amount I could get because I don't feel like we're going to be getting back
Oh my
into this.
God.
So would you like to have your
So-
own sandwich, or would you like to share a half a sandwich with your friend?
Just give me one of those. Yeah, just make a sandwich and we'll cut it in half.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So while you're doing that, I
Yes.
will say that my ex-brother-in-law, who's also named Butch,
All right.
when I was still married to my ex-wife,
Yes.
he and his family went to Australia. And
Oh,
he tried Vegemite.
did he?
And Vegemite is this black, it's, well, I've got a description in here.
It's like black yeast.
It's a fermented yeast spread. And yeah, that people in Australia either love it or they hate it. It's like cilantro.
Oh, they like or not down there even. I thought
Oh,
they ate it
yeah,
like
they
peanut
either
butter and
love it or
jelly.
they hate it.
So I got the worst bread available
Well,
at the
that's
store.
only appropriate.
Yes, I felt like this should be a really trashy,
So another great story that Butch told when he got back was,
Yeah.
because this was the age of the Outback Steakhouse.
Right.
People were drinking Foster's and eating at Outback Steakhouse. He actually went into a restaurant in Australia and asked for a bloomin' onion.
Did he?
He said they laughed him out of the
Did they
place.
really?
Yeah.
He
did.
asked for one?
He did.
Did they say we don't know what
They
you're
said,
talking
"What the
about?"
hell is a bloomin' onion?" And he explained this. Well, we've got this Australian restaurant back there, and they just laughed at him. They were like,
That is
they were like, bloke, you've been led on,
So I googled how to make a proper Vegemite sandwich,
Okay.
and the instructions. This bread does not have a lot of integrity, by the way.
Yeah, because usually they put it on toast, but
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, well, yeah, it said butter both pieces of bread a little,
You're
like a
insane.
thin coat of butter. Oh no, this is good. This is a great experiment for people at home who may not have access to Vegemite.
so while you're still preparing our little snack here,
yeah.
it's also my ex-brother-in-law Butch and ex-sister-in-law Kim and their
Yes.
son Michael.
Yeah.
They have a company called B&K Enterprises,
Totally interesting.
and they are the foremost Beatles costume makers.
No, Elvis. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Beatles. Elvis costume makers in the world.
In
And
the
so
world.
if you saw the Elvis movie that came out last year, the biopic, they contributed, I think, 50 or 60 costumes to that movie.
And they're from right here in our neck of the
and
woods.
they were potentially in line to win an Oscar for design. And I don't think it happened.
Wow.
Yeah, but
they were in line. Can you imagine if they had an Oscar in there?
I mean, and they there was a movie called Honeymoon in Vegas.
Yeah.
The flying
Elvises?
Yeah, they made most
Isn't
of those
that
costumes,
crazy?
or all of them. Yeah, so anytime, folks, you see an Elvis movie or an Elvis costume, there's a very, very good chance that my ex-brother and sister-in-law, and my
Isn't that crazy?
nephew, who I'm still in touch with,
How insane.
made that costume. So I don't know. We bring all sorts of things here on Rock and Roll Rabbit Hole,
Yeah.
or at least we attempt to.
We have little side road trips.
Meanwhile, Butch is making us a black sandwich.
Yes. So what I've been told is a little Vegemite goes a long way.
So like Nutella from hell.
But a little Vegemite goes a long way.
You got a whole jar. Just go ahead and spread it
You
on there.
want to have a little good.
Let's get the full
Okay,
force of this
all right.
madness.
All right, we're gonna really try.
This is insane. Why do you do
I
this
can't
to me?
smell it very good right now, which might be
It's
in my,
probably a
in my
blessing.
favor. Yeah. What do you think? A little more?
A little more, yeah.
a little more.
Try to fill in some of those patches there.
Yeah, I don't know what this bread is just like.
Yeah,
not
it's-
doing well.
We need toast, but I don't have a toaster, so
Yeah.
I don't really eat
I
toast.
could have made toast ahead of time, but I didn't think. Man, this bread is just like garbage. It just doesn't. Need
Garbage. All right. He's
All right.
making the sandwich now.
All right, the sandwich has been
He's
assembled.
cutting it in half now.
We're gonna cut it.
We're going to be the most Australian we can possibly be as middle-aged white guy Americans
in Kentucky.
in Kentucky, because we've got Vegemite sandwiches and we've got Fosters, and we're going to eat these at the same time.
We're gonna celebrate this song. We're gonna celebrate Australia and the Men at Work. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Well, I expected that to be a lot worse.
Oh wow, there's an odd flavor.
Different.
It's like soy sauce in a paste. It is.
It's salty.
It's salty as heck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it.
I do not hate it. I sort of wanted to hate it.
Oh my god, I don't hate it. You're gonna split that with me.
I got all of this Vegemite. I'll let you have that jug.
I don't.
Isn't that odd?
That's really interesting.
Oh, it is.
I like extreme flavors.
Right.
That's pretty extreme.
I would say.
I would eat that on crackers with cheese.
Yeah, man.
I might do that tonight.
There's a cheese flavored version.
This is my dinner. Okay, folks. If you have access to Vegemite, if you like extreme flavors, salty flavors, pungent,
Right.
savory flavors,
Yeah.
I would say this is something you should try.
Right. It has a little more like, in relation, like sort of to like a Cheese Whiz kind of.
Except,
Without the cheesy part.
yeah. Wow. Okay.
Fun.
Okay.
That was not a bad experiment.
No.
I thought the humor of this would be we would be gagging and
So-
suffering.
So Colin Hay
Yes.
has kept the song alive in his acoustic sets. He recorded an acoustic version for one of his albums,
Oh yeah.
titled Man at Work.
What a
And
perfect album title.
He actually plays that the Key Punch Operator song. He plays that sometimes live.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, it's still around.
Oh, I want to seek that out.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah,
yeah.
there are a couple live videos of it.
Fun. So did we get all through all your terms there? The terms we didn't
Yeah,
understand.
those are the ones that I
Okay,
jotted
good.
down. So I guess we should get to the kind of the bad news was that
Yeah.
in 2009 the band was sued by someone who owned the rights to an Australian children's song called Kookaburra, and he sued the songwriters, claiming that the flute riff was copied off that song.
Some 28 years later or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and
Everybody was cool till then.
so it was Greg Ham who wrote that part, and of course Greg swore that he had never heard that song before in his life.
Yeah, he was the attractive, you know, like little like flute player or flautist and saxophonist for that band, and he was, you know, great in the videos, really fun.
Yeah.
But apparently he didn't take it well that they got sued.
Yeah.
What happened was Adam Mills, the host of a music quiz show in Australia called Spicks and Specks, asked, name the nursery rhyme this riff is based on. They played a little bit of Land Down Under, and everybody was like, that's just Land Down Under, right? Land Down Under. He's like, no.
Man.
And so he said the answer is, oh no, the other team said, Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. And he's like, that is correct. And that's what brought it to light. No one had worried about it for years.
Man.
Did it make you sort of sad that
Yeah.
it had to come to that?
Well, and hey, that was my dog Atticus, if you heard that. Atticus, go
For
back to
keeping
sleep.
score.
He decided to walk into the room. So the saddest part was, Atticus, please stop.
Well, I got a
He
little
believes-
more background on that.
Oh, go ahead. Then. Yeah.
It was written by Marion Sinclair in 1932,
Oh,
and
yeah,
she
yeah.
gave it to the Australian version of the Girl Scouts to sing as a round at their campfire.
The Gold
system.
Scouts.
The
Sorry,
what?
The Gold Scouts.
Yes. And it even came to the United States. We were familiar with that song as a kid, I believe. And
I don't remember that.
but anyway, they sued for, I think they said 25% is what they wanted of the song's earnings, which would probably be millions and millions of dollars. It was Larrikin Publishing had bought the rights to the song from like the Australian National Trust. But anyway, they were the judge sided with Larrikin and awarded them 5% of the earnings, only going back 5 years, which
Right.
was $100,000. But Colin Hayes said it cost $4.5
million.
to defend.
Yeah.
So go ahead with Greg Ham's.
Well, it's
reaction.
just that he told the Melbourne's The Age newspaper, it'll be the way the song is remembered, and I hate that. I'm terribly disappointed that that's the way I'm going to be remembered for copying something. And Colin Hay believes that that's what sent him to his grave. He died just like 4 years later.
Yeah, depression, drinking,
Depression.
and maybe even heroin.
Yep. And that was the
Which
that was
that's
the end of
alleged,
him.
Yeah.
You know, to say he didn't take it well, you know, it killed him at an early age. He was 56, I believe.
And he only died like 3 years after the lawsuit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, very sad because I mean he just seemed like a kind of a good dude and kind of a fun guy. I mean, damningly in the video he's sitting in a tree playing that song to a koala bear.
Yeah.
But it just felt very Kookaburra. And yes, they quoted the riff from Kookaburra, obviously. But it's sort of like, I feel like it's like a Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Almost a
kind of
tribute,
feel.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a tribute to Australia, to Australianness, you know, and
Yeah.
it feels like a public domain situation,
Yeah.
even though I guess technically in court it was not. But it really sent that guy on a bad spiral.
That's what you
so-
call a money grab.
That's exactly a money grab. Sad money grab.
Yep. And
Terrible.
And that potentially ended a man's life.
There's a human cost to that sort of thing.
Yep.
Because it took his best thing in life, probably, his little flute part on that. And he already had to live life knowing he was a flautist, which had to be challenging in its own right. And then he had that one hit. He got to play it around the world. And then this happens.
Yep. And it just deflates all of it.
It took his
And-
most wonderful thing, yeah.
I have worries sometimes when we release songs. What if we accidentally stole this?
Right.
I wrote a riff that literally I lifted without realizing it, lifted from the Bare Naked Ladies song "It's All Been Done," which is so ironic.
Right. But the thing is, as long as we don't make any money,
right?
We're probably okay.
We're not making any money, but still, I still worry about that. So I don't. It's what a sad cautionary tale, if you will. I don't know.
It is. He was actually, when Men at Work went on tour, like in their first big run there in 82, 83, when they toured the world and probably played to huge places. I guess they were together too much. It was 5 men, kind of on a bus and on a plane, and they ended up not getting along so well. And it seemed like the only survivors in Men at Work were Greg Ham and Colin Hay were the 2 guys that stayed in the band after that initial run. But it kind of sandbagged them for a while with the court, like litigation over rights and stuff, I guess, going forward when they were trying to get to where they could go on as Men at Work without the other 3 guys.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's why they ended up being what I think is a chunk of gold that ended up being a flash in the pan, because they missed their window then. They couldn't continue. Like you say, the Overkill song was good. That next album sounded pretty good, but they couldn't support it. So they went away. Colin Hay now in Ringo's All-Star Band.
Oh, yeah. I read about that.
So that's kind of
as was our friend Wally Palmer from the Romantics.
There you go.
He was for one tour.
Ringo kind of collects, I think, good people, good hangs, people that are good to be around, like Steve Lukather, like Edgar Winter, like our buddy or your buddy Wally Palmer, and Colin Hay himself seems like a really delightful guy.
He seems in interviews, he seems like just a really gentle human being.
Yep.
Gentle, intelligent. Yeah.
Well, it felt good to be back on the horse.
It really did. I'm surprised that I really kind of like the Vegemite. I'm looking forward to trying some more. I really am. I'm gonna eat it on crackers with cheese.
How surprised are you?
I'm very surprised.
I felt like we might get along with Foster's more than Vegemite.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad that you brought that in. I'm looking forward to trying some more of it because I love soy sauce, and that's what it reminds me of. Anything fermented apparently I like, because I like the beer. I like the Vegemite.
Kind of crazy.
I'm gonna Instagram this later. 100%.
That's great.
But you can follow me at KG Ramon, KGRAMONE.
There you go. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Rock and Roll Rabbit Hole. As season 2
trudges on,
crawls. We're gonna get season 2 in. And then I've got some thoughts about maybe making a new set for season 3.
Okay.
We didn't straighten our backdrop here, but forgive us for that. But anyway, we want to dedicate this episode to Greg Ham. May he rest in peace, a rock and roll brother lost along the way, and to Colin Hay, wherever he may be. I think we realize his genius, even though he's sort of kind of more famous here just as a funny, semi, novelty feeling, but he made us, fall in love with Australia, I believe, and paved the way for the Crocodile Dundee movies.
That's right. That's right.
But we're going to pick a song and we'll be back.
And we'll see you soon. Thanks for coming around.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bathtub, he asked.